our Zoom session for the virtual internship being offered with the Society for Legal Reforms and Education, and they are legal associates. So yes, first round was interesting. At least I found it interesting and interactive. And what we want to do here now is we are more or less coming to the middle of our 1 month internship, right? It's just for 30 days. Time flies fast. It's already, I think, the 11th today. So we don't have too many days left. So let's make each day count. Ideally, I would like to have 4 Zoom sessions. This is our second one, and we could have a slightly longer one if you have the patience. I've been trained for last 25, 30 years to speak a lot, so I can go on for 5, 6 hours continuously, but I don't want to bore everybody with just talk from my side. But we could probably have a slightly longer discussion and make it more interactive. We also, rather than just giving tips on and answering your questions about law, what I wanted to do is basically cover 4 or 5 major areas and important topics in law today. Okay, very briefly, and some of you have already done some basic master classes. Few of you have already signed up for the professional course which we offer. But what I will do today is briefly, maybe 15 minutes on each section. So we will broadly cover cyber law, at least an introduction to cyber law, an introduction to IPR, intellectual property rights, a basic understanding of mergers and acquisitions, and very basic and the foundation of everything, which is drafting of commercial agreements. Okay, broadly we would, and these are all, and international arbitration. So these are 4 or 5 main topics which I think are, from a practical point, very, very important. I really don't care what you do, how grades you get, but finally, when you will come out to practice either independently or join a solicitor's firm or a law firm, you will need, and these are global legal practices we are talking about. So they are not specific and restricted to US, UK, India, or any other country. Okay. Yes, you also need to look at the jurisdictions in which these agreements or contracts are being made. But now the importance is on international law. Okay. And because, again, last time I briefly touched upon, there are large global companies. Okay. Whether it is Zoom, whether it is McDonald's, whether it is Amazon, whether it is an e-commerce company or a Netflix, these are all global companies which have a presence in nearly 130 or 140 countries. Okay. But most of them are domiciled, or the jurisdiction which controls them is US. So it is important for all of us to understand basic American law as well, because these companies are governed by American law, most of them. Okay. But yes, and it's hard for them. So you could be working with one of these companies also in their head office or in one of their regional offices. You could be with Microsoft in Nigeria or in Kenya, or Microsoft Kathmandu, Microsoft Pakistan, Microsoft India. So it's the same organization, but it has to customize its contracts. Consumer laws in different countries are different. Okay. Though dispute resolution mechanisms are different in each country. But yes, there is a lot which is done at the global international level as well, which is what we will focus on today a little bit. So we will get a little bit more technical, dive deep into some of these subjects rather than keeping it very, very superficial. Okay. We will also go over broad understanding, because we have a mix of students from obviously various countries, but also from some from first year, from second, third, right up to 4th and 5th year. And we have few, obviously we have few lawyers who are also joining in, who have completed, who are studying for their LLM. So we've got some lawyers who've got 2 or 3 years of experience within this group. And I do a lot of sessions with, actually most of the sessions which I've been doing in the last 10 years have been with training lawyers who have minimum 5 or 10 years of experience. So it's because then I assume that they know the basics, but here we are trying to cover the very basics as well. But the idea is that you would have covered some portions of whatever we will cover in your respective classrooms in your colleges. Okay. So yes, I'll try to keep it simple, but yet take it also to some level which makes some sense and we are not completely wasting all our time, right? So we'll take it from there, and then little bit we will talk about the legal research reports. We have been receiving good reports from some of you. We expect more people to work and start submitting the reports. So when we have our next Zoom session, we can discuss the legal reports, research reports that we have received, your reports. Okay, and that is the fun. So don't be the last one to submit, then you won't get a proper feedback, right? So the idea is to get more information as early as possible. And we've noticed a lot of you are very, sensitive to time and do everything on time. And there are few, like always, who will probably be the last one to submit documents, which is fine. That's life. So what we will do is we will start off by, Parth, are you ready with the professional course? We can start off with the drafting of commercial agreements to start with.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll quickly go over this one. Meanwhile, any of you have any quick comments or feedback initially? The ones who are at least joining us on Zoom. Okay, so what we will do is, because this is already a structured course, few of you may have opted for this one, but we have already only offering just one course to you, but there are 5 or 6 good courses. So let me quickly go over what all is there in the course itself. And by briefly going through it, we will be discussing and we will be looking at some of the important parts of drafting of commercial agreements. Parth, can we look at the PPT to start with quickly? Yeah, so we will, in fact, drafting of commercial contract is such an important topic that I cannot lay, and it is the foundations, I think, for any corporate lawyer. Okay, anything, anywhere in the world, this is the basics and fundamental. And if your fundamental is strong, you'll build your, building strongly on top of it. So get your basic fundamentals absolutely clarified. Yes, in India, we have Contract Act. In UK, Australia, every other country, Dubai will have a slightly different version of the laws in your respective country. But the basic fundamentals of law of contracts is very similar, I would say, broadly speaking, between whether it is America or UK or anywhere else in Southeast Asia, right? As an exercise, we are also, in fact, some of our students have in the past also done comparative analysis of what are all the common things in contract acts across countries and how are they very distinctly different also. But that is for another day. Yeah, can we go with the slides? The next one, please. Yeah, so some basic things which are important. Commercial contracts and agreements, drafting of commercial agreements, standard clauses, or we call these boilerplate clauses, which are pretty much standardized. Legal formalities for a binding contract, what is it that is required, essentials of drafting, the regulatory framework, and the international commercial contracts. Yeah, next one, please. And we will briefly in this, and it is very important for you to fully understand the basis for business agreements, joint venture agreements, mergers and acquisition agreements, property or real estate agreements, tenancy agreements or buying and selling agreements, commercial leases, IPR agreements, labor employment contracts, and MOUs. So all these are, see, we cannot discuss M&A or joint venture or sale purchase agreements until unless we fundamentally understand the law of contracts or the basis on which commercial contracts and agreements are made. Yeah, next one, please. So very basic, simplistic definition, a contract is a legally binding agreement, that is, an agreement which will be enforced by the courts. An agreement creating and defining obligations between the parties. Okay, so if you get your fundamentals right, you will never have a problem. So the starting point is it is a legally binding agreement. It is not just a friendly agreement where friend A asks the other person to come over for dinner at their house. So is this a commercial agreement or is it a contract? It is not, because it has to be legally binding and it has to be enforced by the courts. If the courts cannot enforce it, then it is not a formal contract to start with. Okay, next one, please. We'll just quickly go through. We have 15 minutes to finish this. The next one. Yeah, we have about 7 or 8 important points in commercial contracts. Can we do that? Yeah, there are 2 elements of a contract, an agreement and a legal obligation. And all agreements are contracts if they are made by free consent of parties, competent to contract for a lawful consideration with a lawful object, and are hereby not expressed void. Okay, so a couple of simple things. Free consent of parties, fairly simple, and I think in every country this fundamental free consent of parties is mandatory. You should not be coerced into doing something. You should not be forced into signing a contract under threat. Somebody is not putting a gun on your head saying sign this contract, and then you sign it. So it is not free consent. Or somebody kidnaps somebody's next of kin and says, if you don't sign, I will harm the other person. So that is, so we are looking at free consent. Competent to contract, are you an adult? Different countries have different ages in which they define who is an adult. Is the adult a person who is over 18, sometimes 21, some countries 17? That may vary from country to country, but are you competent to contract? Are you of sane mind? Are you, at that point in time, if you're intoxicated under the influence of alcohol, and you sign an agreement and you give away your house and your business to somebody else because you were drunk in a pub at some place, is that a legal, valid contract? No. Okay, so competency is important. Lawful consideration, each contract, both sides, one side has to give goods or services and the other side has to offer something in return. It cannot just be within family members. Yes, you could have a contract because of love and affection. I give a gift to my immediate family. That is fine. But for all commercial legal contracts, there has to be a consideration. Whether it is X dollars or X amount is different, but it has to be very clearly be spelled out. It cannot be vague. It cannot be, I will give you some amount of money if you sell me your house. Okay, what is some amount of money? It has to be defined in numbers very clearly. Lawful object, illegal activity can never be part of a valid contract. Okay, you could not, drugs we all know are completely banned in all countries. So you cannot have a formal agreement saying that sell me drugs and you pay me so much money and I will give you the drugs. It's the object itself is illegal and unlawful, can never be part of a valid contract. Okay, few more important conditions, but I think it's, you get your fundamentals right on this, you will then be able to build up on mergers and acquisitions contracts which are relating to startups, founders agreements, shareholder agreements. All, if you look at any business, fundamental is a contract at some point in time which is binding the business to the owners To the employees, we have employment contracts. To the suppliers, to the clients. Even when you sell your goods, it is under a contract that you sell them. There are warranties, there are suppliers. So everything which is binding to a business is through a contract. And without contract, no business can work. So in fact, if you talk to corporate lawyers or in-house general counsel, they spend a phenomenally large amount of time in not just making contracts, but negotiating contracts. And in current times, force majeure is one of the biggest challenges the whole world is grappling with. Okay, so those are things which we will take it up in an advanced level later on. Yeah, next one, please. Yeah, so very quickly, if you can get these 9 points together, I think I have done my job for the day. Okay, look at what are the essentials of a valid contract. Any agreement or contract, whether it is a credit card which you are getting from a bank. So there is an agreement between the bank and you when you sign up for a credit card, or you are purchasing a new car from a car manufacturer or a dealer. Look for these 9 points. Okay, there has to be an agreement. There has to be an intention to create a legal relationship, competency of parties, free consent, lawful consideration, lawful object, agreement not expressly declared void, certainty and possibility of performance, and the legal formalities. If you get these 9 things right, chances are very, very high that you would get your contract correct. And if even if one of the things are missing in any contract and is not very clear, probably there will be a problem later on. Yeah, next one, please. Yeah, okay. Part, can we just get on to the main one? So I think we've more or less, yeah, and we can just show a couple of sample agreements we could go over if possible. Yeah. So as lawyers, yes, we make new contracts, but we also, and let us be honest, most lawyers work with a basic template. Okay, now artificial intelligence is coming in. We have a lot of good sample documents with us, but still lawyers are needed and will continue to be needed for a simple reason that every contract has to be customized. No two contracts are ever identical for anybody, but yes, we can have a starting point. So I'm just going through some of the agreements which I think are important in today's day and age. This is what we call the founders agreement, especially in the world where there are a lot of startups coming up. Okay, so this is what we call the founders agreement, where 2 or 3 people sometimes come together to start a business, and they say, fine, let's do some business in future, and we could, who knows who's creating the next Uber or the next Facebook. Okay, so internally, founders, even before they set up their companies, need to have an agreement so that there is no confusion or dispute later on. Initially, the business is very less value, not much is happening. But if the business is done correctly, especially in the startup industry, it could grow phenomenally fast. In 3 or 5 years, it could touch billion-dollar valuations. And then you don't want internal founders to have disagreements internally that they did not put it down on paper. Yeah, can we just quickly go through this? Yeah, so what we have done in the course, we have sample documents also which are available, but they are available. If you search the net, you'll find a lot of sample documents. Only thing is that you have to try to get your base document correct. When we say base document, it should be current and it should be relevant to your country also. And there are few clauses which are very, very important, which you need to focus really on, like jurisdiction clause. What happens in case of a dispute? Then where will the dispute be settled? Which country, which court, which arbitration center? We also have what we call, as we go along, so besides founders, it is very, very important for key employees to also have ESOPs. Okay, employees preferential stock options. So these are things which are relatively new, and many times we have seen in many, even some of the best business law schools, these topics are not being covered. They have many a times, the course materials have not been updated in most colleges across the world, we have seen. So these are things which you may have to, and especially when if you're going to practice or look at from a practical point of view, you will need access to this information to guide clients who are coming in to get contracts for you. So rather than just standard things of buying and selling a house, a simple document which may not have undergone too much change, the new industries which are coming in or the new opportunities which are there for lawyers, I think if you focus on them, there will be a lot of, I know it's these are tough times. Jobs aren't as many as they used to be. Clients are also, everybody's tightening their belts. But if you know your topic and your subjects well, there are a lot of opportunities for young law students and young lawyers as well. Okay. So I think I've already taken more time. We can do one more topic and then we'll have a general interactive session. Yeah. So Parth, can we quickly go over the IPR one and then we will, then we'll have a little discussion after that. So this was briefly about the drafting of commercial agreements. There's a professional course. So ideally it should take 2 months time to complete a course. Okay. The course itself, yes, you can watch videos. There's a lot of information which we have provided, but ideally for you to cover it properly, it takes 2 months time, where I'm saying it takes about 2 hours each day to go through everything in detail. It's not just answering the MCQ and getting a certificate, but if you really want to do justice to it, do the course and do it rather than trying to do 10 hours in a day, which you will not be able to absorb. Best is to spend not more than 2 hours a day on it, but then be consistent 5 days a week. If you do, it will take you 1.5, 2 months time to properly complete it. During this internship, we are pushing you a lot because you are not doing much. And so I feel you can focus more on these courses, and try to finish it in maybe 2 weeks time. But then those 2 weeks need to be very intense. Yeah. So can we quickly go over the PPT? Yeah, IPR PPT. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just some of the chapters which have been covered, and yes, there are few little bit focused because we have a very large number of students from India. So we have kept couple of chapters exclusively for Indian students if they're talking about Indian IPR, but most of the time the focus is on global IPR practices. So there is intellectual property rights in India, the international context, the IPR system, recent developments in the patent systems, and important part is chapter 6, which is trademarks, chapter 7, which is geographical indication, chapter 8, protection of trade secret, chapter 9, key business concerns in commercializing intellectual property for IP, management and valuation of IP, and walling off of China and the FDI policy. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, next one. Yeah, can we go to the part of the slide which has the charts and all? Next one. Yeah, just one couple of slides back. We can start off with the trade. Yeah, copyright, I think. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, next one. Yeah, just go over the slides. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And next. Okay. So from the IPR perspective, see why it is important is intellectual property rights. Most of the intellectual property is in software. It is in the arts form, in terms of music, in terms of movies, in terms of books, intellectual property and violation of intellectual property. So there's a huge specialization area in IPR, which is available in every country. Okay, because there are large global organizations, which whether it is a Microsoft or a McDonald's, where there is violation of their rights, which could be happening. Uh, China has been violating a lot, and there has been a lot of some of the developing countries in Africa, in Southeast Asia, have also not really been adhering to the rules and regulations. What happens is, as a result, the main owner of the intellectual property, let's say it is a Microsoft or it is somebody who has made a Hollywood movie, if it is being pirated and somebody is an original author and the book is being sold for, let's say, $100, and somebody just photocopies it and starts selling it for $2, okay, the owner of the intellectual property is the one who is not getting any benefit. So it is as bad as theft. It is theft actually. And infringement of your rights is something which is a huge area. There is litigation side to it also. How do you punish somebody who is infringing on your rights? How do you prove that somebody else has copied your logo? Okay, logos can be very simple. McDonald's logo is just simple. It's like an M or a Starbucks logo. People have tried to copy, and then the owners of large organizations will then make sure that nobody is able to use their trademark and their logos. Okay, so if you specialize in this field, I think there is huge opportunities in the IPR, intellectual property rights sector. A lot of engineers now are doing law, getting into this. You could also, there are a lot of people in the biotechnology field who are also coming in, because even the coronavirus, the antidote, let's say, or the drug to which will be developed, which hasn't come out as yet. Somebody will have to make it, and somebody will actually patent it also, so that there is so much of research work going in to make these medicines. And large companies will make sure that they are protected also. Once they spend so much time in and money in researching them, then they need to ensure that in the next 20 years or 30 years, they are able to make their commercial organizations. They're not doing it for charity or for the good of, or just for the benefit of others. So you have to understand that commercial organizations have to protect their financial interests. And we as lawyers, our job to ensure that our clients' money and assets are protected. The next slide, please. But can we quickly go over the slides? Finish them. Okay, actually, it's a 2-month course, so for us to even go over the slides is just not practical in a 15-minute short course. So just to give you a brief overview of, we can also look at some of the case studies, probably part later on.
Yeah.
And also we have some reading material. Maybe this one. Yeah, we can do this. Okay, next one. Yeah, okay. So within these, we also have, like, yeah, just leave it here. Within this, we also have case laws to make it more interesting for you to study. So if there's a, Sony Music Entertainment versus another organization, what was the case? What happened? Where was the case fought? What was the problem in law? Gives you a much better understanding of practically using the information which you are gathering at this stage. Okay, so we have the Design Act, we have the Patent Amendments Act, the Trademark Act, geographical indications, and internationally, again, in case in which country, where is the jurisdiction, where do we file the case for infringement, ensuring that nobody else is able to use our logo or trademark illegally without paying license fee to us. So license agreements are also very, very important and critical in this. Yeah, part. I think we can just look briefly the legal research reports. Can we just go down a little bit? Yeah, just this the second report, probably the first report. Yeah, we can. Okay, we've also in this particular program, if you do this, it'll help you because in country specific, we have just gathered good information together, current latest information. Some we have produced ourselves, and the others we have just compiled it, collated it, so that you can read it. So in fact, most of us are not, even I was not very familiar, I'll be frank with you, about the IPR laws in China. So there is an IPR report. It's a Q&A of the China National Intellectual Property Administration System. Can we go to the next slide, next page? Yeah. So some of these reports are made by law firms, other law firms, international law firms, or by consulting firms like McKinsey or PwC, and they are available in the public domain. But only thing is, it has taken us a very, very long time and a lot of research to get the right reports relevant to us, so that in a structured manner, all that information is together to read. And because otherwise, if you keep searching, there is a lot of junk available on the net. So how do you find what is relevant, what kind of information is useful, which you should read and find it useful also? Can we go to the second one, please? This one. Yeah. And most of the time, obviously, things are changing rapidly because of case laws. The interpretation of law is constantly changing, right? So this is the World Intellectual Property 2019 report. Okay. So go through, like, only thing is that today time is short, so I possibly can't be going over it, but this is a 134-page report. It will take, it's in English. It's not that if you're not a qualified lawyer, you will not understand. Actually, the report is not meant for lawyers. It is meant for clients and people who are actually doing business in this field. And not, lawyers don't do businesses. Lawyers, we are just assisting business owners with their legal work. So these reports are designed for people who are not lawyers. So you as law students will not have a problem in understanding the reports if you go over them. Okay, they're quite simple, but the world, so WIPO is the World Intellectual Property Organization, which is the global organization headquartered in Geneva. And nearly everything is falling under that. Okay. So understanding, and it is complicated. There is no one filing which you do. You could invent something and there are a lot of new stuff which is happening. People are currently undergoing, new inventions are constantly being done. There's a new cycle which is being, I think there is a technique coming in where instead of pedaling in a circular motion, you are stepping up on the pedal itself of the cycle. So it's something which is new, which would come in and could change the way cycles have been built. And we have all been bicycling, we've all seen cycles. It's a much more efficient system. So whoever will invent that probably will sell maybe a couple of billion cycles. Okay. But when they make it, how do they protect themselves that nobody else in China or in Africa or in a underdeveloped country puts up a factory without any licenses and starts manufacturing and starts selling? Okay, similarly is for a new drug which is being created to save mankind from, let's say, COVID-19. So all this is, so understand the importance of intellectual property. The entire space of drugs, medicines, biotechnology, movies, music, all of this is falling under IP. All the softwares, anything and everything which we are doing with technology, e-commerce, all the softwares we are using. One of the fastest growing areas for future lawyers. Okay, so these are two things. So understand the basics of contract drafting. Second one, then you can look at IPR. There is mergers and acquisitions. There is cyber law. There are so many other areas which come in, but these two are absolutely critical for you to, from an employability point of view. Once you graduate, what will you do? How will you add value? So nobody is going to ask you, so which is the, what were your grades and what can you throw up? Because we have Google at our disposal. All the acts and laws are there. But can you help organizations or law firms or lawyers in actually ensuring that they are able to do their businesses in a better way, or in a way, I would say, protect the liabilities to any businesses, or ensure that their professional license fee comes to them the way it should come, and nobody else is stealing their property. And if they steal, then you hit them so hard that nobody does that again. Okay, so those are some of the main areas which I wanted to focus on. Yeah, can we switch off the slide presentation and we can little bit, yeah. Okay, so I don't want to overload you. We can have two more sessions, one on cyber law, a little bit at the end of the session, and we can have a little bit on mergers and acquisitions also, which I think are very, very important topics. Cyber law important because whatever we are doing is about cyber law. All our banking, the credit cards, money, stock market, everything is part of the cyber law itself. The emails we write, the social medias we use, whether it is LinkedIn, Facebook, Zoom, everything is the laws. What are the international laws? What are your country's laws, where you are domiciled? And that is what makes things interesting. And then we have international arbitration. Obviously, if there are disputes happening where the company is based in America, you live in Kenya, the customer is living in China, and employees are spread over Europe, let's say. There is a dispute, then which country will settle? Where will you go to get justice? Where will you go to get resolution for your disputes? So the international arbitration centers, whether in New York, as per the New York Convention, or in London, or in Singapore, or in Dubai, actually are some of the fastest and the best arbitration centers. And now everything is cyber law is even gaining importance because of COVID-19, really nearly all the courts in all the countries are not having physical courts, are working not more than 10, 20, 30% of what they used to. Okay, but does that mean that the justice system will collapse? Obviously no. In fact, we've all been arguing on the virtual courts are now, they were very popular earlier on in the Western countries, developed countries, but now more and more countries are adapting to the virtual courts as well. Okay, so we've also, and many countries are, the Supreme Courts used to do that, the higher courts were doing it, but now it has to come across. And there are difficulties also with virtual courts, because when you cross-examine somebody in an evidence matter or in a criminal case, it is very difficult to do it virtually. So we are all struggling. Everybody is it's what is the new normal? We are all trying to figure this one out. So in this rapid changing environment, I think, yes, interpretation of law and new changes when they come in, then is it a rule? Is it a law? Is it mandatory? Is it voluntary? Who decides all this? So I think lawyers are the best people to make the rules, help others make the rules, and help them in interpreting the rules as well for the interest of business. Okay, so these are some of the points which I wanted to share. Let us all make it a little interactive, and we can open the mics for those of you. There are unfortunately, we have a very, very large number of students, and I wanted to accommodate as many as possible. So there is a very large number of students who are joining us on YouTube Live, who are not able to join us in the Zoom sessions, but I will make sure more and more students do get an opportunity to ask questions either directly, or they can send in their questions through the chat mode, and our moderators will take them up right now. And I also want to thank you all for, actually, we had sent you a very detailed first mail, which had all the information, the do's, how to get into it. And yes, it is challenging. Nearly all of you have managed to, do one masterclass also. I've requested, because the internship is such that there are a lot of YouTube videos, which I think there are many on mentorships sessions also, which we had recorded just some time back, maybe 1 or 2 months back. So I hope you have seen some of them. Good professionals had come in to guide young professionals as to how to build their careers, what are the do's, how to take, what is relevant, what is not relevant, how do you make your, how do you transition from a student to a career professional? Okay, and if you are already a professional, then how do you make your, how do you grow in your career, which is absolutely, which all of us want to do. So those do watch those videos if you can. And there is more information. And now I will just open up for maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute max for each person. Anything which you want to ask a question or a short comment, we'll welcome that. Let us start off. Parth, can you coordinate this, please?
Very good evening, sir, and hello to everyone. So I'm Neeta. So my question is, sir, so you've mentioned about, in the last call we had, you had mentioned about the terms and policies of the apps that we use. So how does the contract, the international contract law look at that? Like, how is that dealt? So because it's either like you said, it's take it or leave. So how can we look at that from international contract
Yeah,
law?
so let us, good question, and I think everybody should a little bit will benefit, because it's not a, I'm glad it's a question which I would like to take up also right now. So if you look at social media, let's look at LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. These are, I think, the most popular ones which nearly everybody is using, right? And how many of us have actually read the contracts which are there? And even, in fact, in Facebook, I'm not using it so frequently, but there are new notifications which come in. You get that on your app to go forward, accept. Otherwise, it will not. And the acceptance is that new privacy laws or some changes are happening depending on the country from where we may have signed up also. So a lot of things are based on where you are located. But let's say something like LinkedIn probably is where you are based. You could be living today in Kathmandu, but you may relocate to Dubai later on, and then you may move to US, let's say, for studies, and then take up a job in Australia. So your account will remain the same, and most of the time we may not even actually update that information on the social media. Okay, so that's up to us, but we need to really, because what's happening is, it's important not just as individuals but also for companies. Companies are spending a lot of money on their branding today, right? A lot of professionals are spending a large amount of time, although these services are free of cost. So, but I know of people who have recently been banned on LinkedIn. Okay, they have been banned on Twitter, they have been banned on, so it's more on the negative side, that if you violate the policies, these organizations have the right to remove you as a customer and close your accounts. Okay, but what is happening is, who is to decide that, and can that be challenged? Okay, two people are violating the rule. Which country, who is deciding? Is it just, I'm not going to take names because my own accounts might get, I don't want to make any very controversial statement here, but who is to decide? Is it the owner, Mark Zuckerberg, sitting somewhere in the US deciding ABC's account is not appropriate, what they've put up, we should remove them? Or on LinkedIn, or similarly on Twitter, who's to decide? What are the rules? And can it be totally be one-sided? These days, earlier on, the contracts could be, we as lawyers would make very, very one-sided agreements, take it or leave it kind of a thing. But now it should not violate the all, basic human rights have to be respected for each individual. Okay. I'm not saying common sense and law always go hand in hand, but what is required is that they should be balanced. And there should, yes, and there are also cases in many countries where individuals or companies have filed cases in their local courts, and subpoenas or equivalent to notices could be issued to the owners and directors of these large global organizations, and they could be punished in different countries. So their risks are also high, and if they are violating terms, European Union has put so many fines. I don't want to take which, but there are many social media companies which have been fined in billions of pounds and euros for violating terms, data which they have got, the pictures which we are putting up. Is it our property? Is it their property? Information which we are putting up on LinkedIn, even for that matter, Gmail. Most of us are using Gmail as students. It's only when you get into corporate or business that you start using your, company's server email ID. But we are all using Gmails. On Google Docs, we have all our photographs. We have all our, sometimes passwords, sometimes pictures, sometimes even documents which we are wanting to keep in a soft copy, right? We don't keep hard copies. Nobody's keeping hard copies. So where is it going? It's going on Google Drives. Okay. How safe is it? How unsafe is it? What happens if tomorrow Gmail doesn't like you as a non-paying customer? Okay. So, but yes, we should look at, and the best way for all of you and for you, since you have asked this question, Neeta, is that you need to download the agreements which are there on all the social media. Do that as an exercise or maybe as a short project. Okay. Download the agreements which we have when we've opened a LinkedIn account and a Facebook account and a Twitter account and an Insta account. Look at the terms and conditions. They're all there. Okay. We need to study them. Look at the jurisdictions. What is the dispute resolution mechanism saying? I don't have the answers. We keep doing this and these are constantly changing. Or we are all buying and selling stuff on Amazon, right? What is the policy? What happens if, yes, you bought a phone from on Amazon. What happens is not good. And normally, yes, they have good policies. They will return it if it's broken. What happens if they don't? What are your rights? If you're living in Nepal or UK or India or Pakistan or Kenya or Nairobi, is it the same rule? Are they different rules? Do we need to go to New York to file a case against them, or can we do it in the jurisdiction where we are living? Okay. Similarly, the contracts, agreements, even for airlines don't give refunds. There are numerous cases where flights get cancelled, especially during COVID times, and they refuse to give the money back. And it is not the consumer's fault. So where do you take up with the airlines because you booked through an app or a travel agency site? Okay, so what is happening is complexities are there, and that is why we as lawyers will always have jobs. Okay, it is so complex that unfortunately a regular consumer is not able to navigate. It is sad, but it is true as well. But as consumers, yes, we don't even know whom to fight with and how to approach them. Try sending an email to one of these organizations. They don't even have an email address. Okay, how will so is it just because they have good policies or do we have rights, or we don't have any rights? So these are new things that we need to start looking at, and that's what makes law so interesting. Okay, I know I have not answered your question, but we have to move on now to. Is it okay, Neeta? Okay, great. So quickly we'll just and there are some new people also on Zoom this time we have from so we can give an opportunity to them as well.
Yeah, so okay, if I I talk? Yeah.
Yes, Heather, please.
I think that's a really topical conversation about terms and conditions, especially given the whole censorship argument of, you know, the alt-right and that sort of thing at the moment. But my question is actually regarding online dispute resolution. So my short note is going to focus on a comparison between the Indian sort of perspective and the UK. And I noticed that the Supreme Court of India are now saying that it's going to be really difficult to make online dispute resolution scalable, and sort of they're discussing how to do that at the moment. I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Sure, no, online dispute resolution is the future for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. There is no looking back. It is we have no choice, especially when it comes to consumer courts and consumers' rights, right? If it's high value, then everybody is fine to go to the court. There are big corporations involved, the battery of lawyers, complex cases. But things like smaller ones, you purchase something for $20 or 1,000 rupees, okay? Something is not right in it. Now, ideally, the consumer courts in respective countries are there. We also have, but they are not geared right now, but it is getting there. And we also have new arbitration systems coming in. So the whole idea is that these matters are not really which are requiring us to go to the courts, or we're talking about the Supreme Court or the highest courts of the country. We need to resolve them through mediation, actually. So mediation is the method where it is not even an arbitration, where you simply have a sensible person in the middle saying, okay, two people are having a difference of opinion and they're not able to come to some conclusion. The matter is small. You purchase a dress from somewhere. Now, some countries have very clear laws. You buy something and without giving any reason, especially in the US, you can return your goods, right? No questions will be asked within a certain, I think it's about a month or so, if I'm not wrong, that you purchase something, you don't like it, you return it. It is as long as you have not damaged it. But in most Asian countries, that is absolutely not the case. You go to a shop, purchase something, first thing which is mentioned in that shop is saying goods will not be returned or will not be taken back. Okay. So again, local rules, regulations come into the picture, but the idea is because the purchases are also from physical shops and people going to malls to purchase things. Now the shopping is also online. Right? So the dispute resolution also has to be online. And it is happening, it is coming in, not just in India, but all over the world. Okay, and only when your stakes are high, your values are high, you purchase a car, okay, for let's say $50,000 or 50,000 pounds or euros. The values are high for you to spend your time, money, and energy if required. So online is to a certain extent, and the virtual interviews and meetings are possible now, which is saving hugely on time and cost. Right? Imagine if we had to go, today I had to go for a very urgent work. Physically going, you spend at least, get into your car, go to the court, wait for your turn, whichever country you are in. And then honorable judges will give you 15 to 20 minutes, maximum half an hour for any matter, right? But you've spent half a day. And that is why legal cost in every country is so high, because as lawyers, we are all getting paid. We look at, yes, we need to give results, but we are also looking at how much time was spent. So I wasted half a day in doing something which actually required, if I am doing it online through Zoom or any other platform, I'm just spending 30 minutes of my time on that meeting instead of 5 hours. So this is the future. And in India, as well as other countries, this is something which needs to come in more and more. And most of the time, the laws are there. It is just a question of interpretation of those laws. I'm sure in Africa, in other countries as well, this is the future. Right? Okay. Anything else?
Can I ask some questions?
Maybe. Okay, sorry.
You can go
You
first.
may
That's
go.
fine. Okay, thank you.
Ladies
So
first. Yeah, okay.
it's okay. So yeah. So in light of, I have a question on politics linked
On
to
politics,
it's kind of
I will not
political.
be taking it.
Yeah. So in light of Indo-China conflict, how does this event affect business in India, and how does the lawyer help to mitigate the risk that may arise from the event?
Which event?
The China and India conflict in
Oh, I don't think it concerns. Okay, anything which is not strictly related to law and political stuff. Let's not. I can discuss this with you offline, one-on-one, if you're interested. But let us not waste everybody's time on this. Let's stick to commercial law, legal practices, legal profession topics. Otherwise, we can go into debates forever. And so religion and politics is something which we will not be taking up on this platform for sure. One-on-one, I'm happy to discuss with you.
So basically, my question is more about like how does this affect the business in India, and how do the lawyer help to mitigate the risk that may arise from the event? So I'm not too sure whether you can share your thought on this.
Yeah, okay. See, conflicts are there. We have trade wars going on between US and China right now. There could be, issues between various countries, Iran. There are so many conflicts which are going on. Obviously, it affects business, but we need to look at it from a commercial business legal point of view. And really, we can't do much to avoid or mitigate the risks. The insurance costs will go up in these countries. Okay, everything is insured. You're sending a ship, you're sending shipments, whatever. If there is a break in any country, there is a war, okay, or there is an earthquake, or there is a tsunami, or there's a COVID-19, which is a pandemic which is spreading. All these are the risks of doing business. And as lawyers, what we try to do is protect the businesses as much as possible. How? Through the contracts. We put those kind of clauses that in case a war breaks, then what happens? I'm not allowed to, the cargo planes will not go, ships will not go. So all these, we look at it from how do we protect the interest of our clients in case of an eventuality, and that needs to be covered in the contracts itself.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's my question anyway. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Hi everyone.
Yes, Carol. Hi.
I have a question about cyber law. Okay, because here in Brazil, general data protection law is valid just now, and I don't know. I suppose that because we have a civil law system, right? But in India, I've seen that your personal data protection bill is from last year. So how is your legal opinion about that? Like in India, you have that common law. Maybe it's not so hard to change rules and systems as the civil law. So how can you see that?
Yeah, so now data protection laws definitely have gained so much of importance now because, obviously everything is online. All the information is available, and it can very easily be misused, okay, by companies, by individuals for vested interest. And yes, these laws are relatively newer in India, okay, but what is happening is now, but the way these are being stored and the way large organizations are looking at it is quite different because the servers are all, it need not be in your home country. Now, there are two ways to look at it. One is how the government of a country protects the information which they have, right? The information which is on the passports or the national IDs or social security numbers. In India, we have something like Aadhaar card. Dubai has the Emirates ID, as they call it. Every country has a national security system through which data of individuals is stored, their names, their age, their date of birth, qualifications, whole lot of, which is what we call the census information. But corporations are also now using this data because it is used for online advertising now. Okay, again, whether it is Facebook or anything else. So it is critical and it is challenging also because I think the biggest challenge which we face, and in fact, which is being faced by most countries, is the implementation of these laws. The laws are great. We have excellent laws everywhere. But how do we ensure the implementation, and who is to oversee that they are actually being implemented unless there is a breach and it comes into public domain? So challenges are multifold, and that is why cybercrime is also on the rise, because whether it is a bank or an organization, we are all trying to best protect the information and data, but it is all somewhere in the cloud. Okay. And there are very, very smart cyber operators who are able to crack passwords and break into accounts, not just of individuals, but of large corporations. So data theft is the biggest challenge. And then once data is stolen, because everything is electronic, so geographical barriers are gone completely, and laws of which country to prosecute them is also very, very challenging. So, this is my few thoughts on, but it is again, the fastest and most important growing field is data protection today. And what are the laws and decided cases, actually what is happening in every country. The laws are there, but when you have disputes arising on that particular subject, which goes to the courts, and then the courts take a decision, those become the precedents, and that is how the interpretation of law is actually reaching out. So when there is a new law, it sometimes takes 5 or 10 years to get enough case laws so that you can interpret it absolutely correctly. So this is what we're all struggling with right now, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, please. Misbah, you have any question? Good. Yeah, Parth, can you switch on the mics for, yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, this is Tejasvi. I'm a student of law. So I would like to question you about insolvency and bankruptcy code, sir.
Right.
And I've been working on a paper like a limitation periods and banking. What is the connection between limitation period and banking? In that process, I have found out that in insolvency and bankruptcy code, there is an amendment, recent amendment in 2016, that. Sorry. Before, when it has been implemented, then limitation act would not be applied
Okay.
under
Yeah.
insolvency and bankruptcy code. But there is a case, Neelkant
Yeah,
Township.
okay, but Tejasvi, I'm okay. I broadly got your question. So you're wanting to know more about the insolvency and bankruptcy code. Okay, for the benefit of everybody else, we have, new laws in different countries keep coming up. So for us, it's like the Chapter 11 in America, which if you're familiar with, it's like if businesses don't do well, okay, you shut them down and kind of move on, rather than prosecuting the founders and owners of organizations who started those business and prosecute them because they are unable to pay their debt, right, or loans which they have taken. So Tejasvi, insolvency and bankruptcy code is a very specific code which we have specifically for India, because if we go into detail, so I will probably take this question. If you send in a mail to me, I will reply to you by email, because I don't want to take this up specifically when we have a lot of other students also who may just not be interested in insolvency and bankruptcy code. But for the benefit of everybody else, insolvency and bankruptcy is a very, very critical part of corporate law. In many countries, it is required, because what happens when a business is not able to pay its debt? So there are only two ways. Like we incorporate a company, it's not a natural person. The only way to, as we would say, close a company is to liquidate the company, right? Like a human being is born, and then only at the time of death that the life is over for them. But for an organization or a company, it is incorporation and it is liquidation, which is the worst at the end. But liquidation is only done when the company is actually being closed down. But what happens here in insolvency and bankruptcy is that one owner or the promoters or the shareholders are unable to run it because they don't have the capital or sufficient capital. They may have incurred such high losses. So what is happening is it is essentially helping the creditors take over the organizations and run it till the time it becomes profitable and they can sell it to somebody else, rather than shutting down a business, which basically means job losses to everybody, which basically means banks and financial institutions have to write off their losses. But in this case, because of this code, the idea behind it is that the creditors take over, although it is not their core business to manage that business, but they have financially injected money through debt or equity into these organizations. So what they need to do is make sure that the organization is not liquidated. It can continue by injecting more capital, getting in, selling off the shares, maybe removing the initial management because they may have mismanaged or they did not know how to do business. They move out, but the organizations continue to function to save jobs, to, again, so that institutions do not have to look at bad debt. And it's then not written, they don't have to write off the loans completely. Right, Tejasvi? If you send me a mail, I will send you a proper response on this topic. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Tejasvi. Anyone else?
Audible, sir?
Yes, please.
Hello, sir. So my question is regarding contract law and international law. So this is in regards to, like, I'm practicing client counseling as well, although I'm a second year law student. So
Right.
they've recommended us to study about both the contract law in our in relation with international law. So, like, for example, if I have to just state, like, if we have exhaustion of domestic remedies, we approach international law, right? So how, like, what is the link between contract law and international law?
Like equivalent to the basic, we call them bare acts in India and different countries, right? Which is just the law. The moment it is passed in your parliament, it becomes the law, right? I'm sure the legislative system is very, very similar in most of the countries, right? But when you say international law, then, what is international? Outside your home country is everything is international, right? We have 160 countries. Okay, so that is where the challenges start. So when we talk about international law, yes, America is a very strong global player. It nothing to do with politics or whether I like America or not like, any other country. It makes no difference. US is, if you look at the global 500, the biggest organizations, US is a very, very large player. Okay, so we need to look at US laws. We definitely cannot ignore them at all. If you look at the global businesses done, or you look at the United Nations kind of a thing, so US plays a very major role. European Union is playing a very major role. UK continues to be a pretty dominant player globally, even if their own business interest globally may be little low, but laws of so many countries are based on common law, which you must factor in. Okay, so UK is important because common law of even the Middle East, Dubai, UAE, the modern Islamic world, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Kathmandu, Australia, all Commonwealth countries are, the basis is common law. China, we cannot ignore, even if the language is not known to us, but that is where we say that China is a very difficult country to deal with, not because of anything else, but because the primary language is not English. Okay, so as foreign lawyers, today you can pick up any country where the law has a legal translation easily. It's not very difficult for us, right? But China continues to be little opaque, I would say. Okay, but to understand, but every country has to do business in China. Okay, so how do you understand basic Chinese rules and laws? You can't say, I will not go do business with China or any other one country, because the market share is too high for anyone to ignore. Okay. So when we talk about international, India is a large dominant player today just because of the sheer size. We have more than 1 billion people living here. Okay. So yes, understanding basic, if you ideally you should look at companies like Starbucks or look at Amazon, look at Facebook, Google, look at the countries in which they are doing businesses, and you will find at least 25, 30 large countries, South America, Brazil, Eastern Europe, Africa. Africa also is very spread out, but are we talking about South Africa? Are we talking about Kenya? Are we talking about East Africa? So but the moment we talk, say, international law, it is a little bit complex, but I would ideally say pick up at least 7 or 8 large jurisdictions and start doing your analysis from there. Right? Okay. Anyone else? Do we quickly? Okay, and I want to add a little bit about before I take on more questions. Yes, a lot of you have put in your legal research reports, and some of you are struggling. I'm getting a lot of feedback also that many of you do not just know how to start and where to start. And again, even if you don't submit them, does not matter as long as you start trying to look at it. And we will send you some sample good legal research reports, again made by other law firms or by other consulting firms. Search the net, you will find really good law reports. So 2 things are important in legal research. One is that factually you need to absolutely be accurate. You cannot be vague. You cannot. So the source of your information, as I had mentioned last time, government websites, go to the basic source. So my simple question to any law research report which comes in is, what is the basis, what is the source of your basic information? Okay, it has to be a government website or whether in whichever country you're talking about. Okay. Secondly, look at the latest amendments which have happened. Okay, don't just talk about law which was there in 1960 and 70s and 80s, but look at what happened in the last couple of years. Definitely look at decided cases. Okay, in whichever country you are living in or whichever country for which you want to do your research on. Google case research, and you don't have to buy expensive portals or pay large fee to get access. This is all this information is available free of cost on the net. Okay, but what is important is how do you make that report your own? Okay, that is the critical part. Okay, you may not be qualified or experienced enough to comment too much independently on it, but then it is like, have you provided a structure to your report? Is there an opening? Is there an ending? Is there a conclusion? Is there a flow? It could be just a 1-page or a 2-page report, or it could be the larger report articles which we are writing. It could be, we write reports which are exceeding 40,000 words. Okay, so these are literally like books. Okay, but we don't expect that from you right now. But eventually, when you take up jobs with large organizations or in law firms, you will be writing research reports. And believe me, the harder part is to write very short research reports. Okay, 1-pager is the hardest. Okay, because it's easy to just put a lot of information together, but how do you interpret it? Okay, and are you stating the structure are you giving the source of the information? Are you giving credit to somebody else who has made that report? It's fine to quote somebody else as long as you give credit to them and not put in quotes what they have said. And finally, what is it that you are trying to say? It's your opinion. There is no right and wrong to it. It's your opinion. Your opinion could be that this is good, this is not good. It is. So nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can say, they may not agree with your opinion, but it cannot be wrong because it is your opinion. Okay, it is right for you, and that is what really matters. So there is no wrong opinion. Yes, people will disagree, and sometimes it is good to write little bit reports which are, you think out of the box. A lot of people may say, I don't agree. It's fine. They don't have to agree. We are not making reports to please people, but we are making reports to give the information which is maybe not clear to people. Okay, so a good research is like what a journalist will do. They will dive deep into the subject. But the basis is we will stick to facts and not fiction, and not just pick up anything which we find on Google. And then, yes, ideally, when a good research report is submitted, it's like, I'm sure for colleges, all of you, when you will write research reports, it would be checked for plagiarism, right? So you must try to ensure, even if we are not doing it, try to make sure. See, the moment you are giving reference to somebody else is absolutely fine. Don't. So it's like cheating, or it is theft, intellectual theft, if you put somebody else's report and say this is yours. But it's fine to say it is theirs, but in the end you have your own conclusions, or you may just tend to disagree or agree with what the author on that report has said. So it's basically commenting also. You can start off with that and build on it gradually. Okay, but research reports are important, even if it is not to be always published. Many a times we lawyers make reports internally for ourselves. Like, let's say I'm handling a matter on a particular topic which I'm not very familiar with, right? So we ask our team to make that report so that we ourselves fully understand what is the legal position before we can even advise the client, or we can, if it's a litigation matter, take it up to the courts. Okay, so research reports need not always be published, but it is good. It is for our own understanding, really. And then, yes, we can share it with clients, we can share it with students, with lawyers, and if it's really good, automatically it will get published as well, right? And we will also try our best to publish some of the reports, not all, but really something which is really good, and if we need to fine tune it, we will. And we will publish it, and we will say that you are the authors. We may edit it, so we may be the editors there, but if it's your report, then you are the author. But you have to ensure that you are the original author, right? Okay, any few more questions coming in? Parth, are there more questions from the YouTube, like students who have joined us on YouTube, if there's anything important? And we can still take a few more questions here.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Okay. Good evening, sir. My name is Septiani from Indonesia. I'd like to ask a questions about arbitration law. So my question is, what do you think about the technology developments will impact on the practice of international arbitration? Also, what are your opinion about the urgency to change international arbitration law related to technology, in particular AI, in order to have a comprehensive international regulation? Thank you.
Oh my God, that's a tough one. Okay. Yeah. Artificial intelligence is such a new topic, and for non-technical people, like I know I have lawyer friends who have engineering degrees and all, they understand technology and law so much better. But these are my opinions, but I feel that our laws, international arbitration laws, are adequate. Okay, frankly, I don't think that there is change required in the laws. What is happening is new ways of doing businesses are coming in. Okay, let's take up, if you want, theoretically, artificial intelligence is coming in. Now you have self-driven cars, for that matter, right? I think in America, in San Francisco, they're actually on the road. There are driverless cars on the road. Or even if there is a driver, they are not really physically taking control of the car, right? I think in Dubai also, they had to, I know I was based there when the testing was happening, and they had changed the legislation. So the laws in UAE, I believe, have already been changed, keeping in mind that in future driverless cars may come onto the roads. Okay, now these are countries which are a little bit ahead, and I'm just taking one part of artificial intelligence. Challenges are, in case of an accident, if a person is driving, the person is responsible if they are at fault. Okay, if they are intoxicated or if they did not have the driver's license. But if it was a manufacturing fault, then the car manufacturer is liable, right? If the brakes failed because there was a defect in the Toyota had this issue some time back, and they recalled so many cars that if the brake system was faulty and cars were released, right? But in artificial intelligence, is it Google? Is it the software manufacturer? I think that is where the real challenge lies. And it is not just changing the law. Nobody really knows who to blame in case something will go wrong. And something, technology is also not foolproof. Technology can go wrong. I will give you some simplistic examples are the financial, the banks and the stock trading platforms. Are they foolproof 100%? Absolutely not. You have billions of dollars worth of trading going on financial platforms. Large companies, large banks, you have shares of billions trading every day. What happens? Do you think there can be no glitch or no virus which could just halt the system for 5 hours? And what happens if you have put in a trade in billions of dollars for that in 5 hours? So who is responsible? So you do have insurances to try to cover that. But this is something which I think very, very new topic. But I fundamentally feel that the international arbitration laws are pretty clear. Like if you're based in Indonesia, I believe, so the closest international arbitration probably would be Singapore for your country, where it's a great place where international arbitration happens. It's everything is in English. Geographically, covers Southeast and Asian countries. But what is happening is there also what happens in the arbitration or in the international dispute resolution mechanism. Laws, both two parties are obviously disputing because they have a fundamental difference of opinion on how matters to be settled. They cannot resolve it themselves. Okay. Now the arbitrator or if it's an institutional arbitrator, there is a 1 or a 3 or a 5 member arbitration panel, right? Arbitrators panel. So both sides through their lawyers or individually will argue their case in that matter. But the biggest challenge is jurisdiction. So laws of which country is to be applicable to start off with. And something in an IA, I think that is where the challenges are. You have contracts which can be made on completely, no humans are required to make those contracts. And they could be very, very complex agreements because the software decides all that. But is it 100% foolproof? And then who is the owner of that intellectual property? So I frankly, I'm sorry, but I don't have the answers. And I don't think many legal professionals will have the answers. I think we are just over a period of time, as cases will come in, as they will get decided, automatically that will become precedent and things will move on. So currently IA is definitely one of those absolutely newer topics, but a lot of work is being done in America, I would say, or in developed countries, I would say. Ideally I think US is one place where all this development work is happening. And from the legal perspective also, I think US laws are important, and there is a New York Convention. And again, if you look at the arbitration centers of UAE, Singapore, the London Arbitration Center, I think that is where we will continue to go. And are the laws changing or not? Those are depending on the countries in which we are all living in. And how do our countries' legal systems adapt to artificial intelligence? I don't think anybody has started making legislation for it as yet. So I think it will still take some time. But developed countries, especially US and all, I think, I'm not sure. In fact, you should start doing research. Is there very clear laws on artificial intelligence? I don't know, frankly. But one of you can take up and start doing some research and share your research with us, and we'll be happy to share it on our next Zoom session then. Would you want to take this up yourself? Septina, right? Parth, can we have the mic on for her? Hi, have I answered your question?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's very interesting,
No,
and I got
but
I get some new perspective in seeing the.
I have a request. I would like you to do a little bit of research on this topic, on IA laws, if you can.
Yeah. We'll do in one of my.
Take it up for this internship only. Write a short report or a long one if you like.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you so much.
This is the only way to make this practical and useful for all of us. Or if anybody else wants to volunteer, you're all working on your research topics, pick this one up. I think we've already taken, but not too many people have picked up this topic for research. It's a fast growing field. Nobody really knows what is going to happen, and we will be happy to share it in our next or the last meeting we have. We have done. I have also some people in our team had done research, but I don't think it's updated. But I will like to have this. We will discuss it. The artificial intelligence side of law.
Yeah, I'm actually working on my thesis about this.
Fantastic. So please share some information with us. And
yeah, sure.
Rather you ask questions to me, I will be asking questions to you in the next time.
So, all right, sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hi. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, please. Julius?
Yes, my name is Julius from, I'm talking from Nigeria.
Yes, please.
So my question is, regarding cyber security. I don't know if there are international regulatory bodies on cyber security, just like we have the WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, that regulates intellectual property. So I don't know if there's any legislation on that, on cyber security.
Julius, what is happening is for cyber security, what is happening is we're talking about the enforcement agencies, right? So frankly speaking, like in every country, if there is a violation, if there is any theft of anything happening, you go to your police, right? The police, to take care, to investigate a crime. Similarly, in cyberspace, the moment it is happening, most countries now have a cyber cell within the police departments, right? Most of them would have it. But finally, what is happening is because cyber crimes are committed across geographical borders for sure. Okay, somebody is hacking into somebody's computer, somebody is breaking into somebody's software. So Interpol, if you ask me which is the regulator or the enforcement agency, then it is Interpol, which works in conjunction with the police authorities of every country and are very, very active in solving cybercrime because each country's jurisdiction, you cannot go into other person's jurisdiction also, right? So there is a lot of assistance required between various countries, and usually it is, and the fugitives are also running from one country to the other country, and their money is in the third country. They're also smart operators. So Interpol plays, I think, the most important role in not just solving cybercrime, but also from the enforcement point of view. Because finally, in terms of cybercrime, one has to chase the money and follow the money. And when you follow the money, you will find the ultimate culprits as well. So it could be, and there is a lot of washing or money laundering which happens simultaneously. And yes, it's a very, very important topic, but cyber security, which you've touched upon, but finally it comes down to Interpol, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. So can we take up some questions from anybody else has any questions or comments, and we can then quickly move on, Parth, to few questions from the...
Yeah. Many of the students are asking regarding the MCQs which they have to prepare. They're asking like whether they have to prepare for the short research articles.
Okay. So for all the research reports, it is not mandatory at all. If you can put in MCQs, we have requested. If you go through our, point-wise, we spend a lot of time and energy was spent in trying to make a comprehensive list of how to make the research report. Because it is fundamentally, if it is meant for students, then we feel that there should be a testing method also after reaching a detailed report. Okay, so for the short research articles, it is not required. Ideally, that goes for everything. Anybody who's making research report for this internship, whatever we have mentioned is what we are suggesting and what we feel should be the standard method of presenting your report. But it is not written in stone. You are free to modify the way you like to do that. For the larger research articles, we would suggest and recommend that you make the MCQs, the multiple choice questions, because you have made the report. You should have the suggested answer and make those. But if you don't make it, many of you are finding it difficult, it's fine. Don't take that much trouble if you're not able to do that. So that's fine. But if we have to look at who has made the best report, then yes, we will take it into consideration. Are MCQs there or not there in the larger research articles? If it's not there, it's like you get 9 out of 10 and not 10 out of 10 because you skipped one important part because you found it difficult, right? But again, there's no right and wrong. So do what best you can. And yes, feel free. In fact, we're getting a lot of queries on very basic questions, word limit. Don't get so bogged down with that technical side of it. Idea is to present your thoughts and the information which you have on a particular topic. Okay, so don't get bogged down. And by the way, I'm not a school or a college principal here. I'm a practicing lawyer myself, so I don't have the time or the patience to answer these questions. But I'm trying to, assist you a little bit, but also learn in the process. And I think that is the best part of it. That if it is useful and practical, you will benefit the most if you have made your own reports. Ideas that you would have learned so much from it. And yes, if it's good, we will share it with others as well. So everybody can benefit from it. But don't get bogged down on technical. People are saying, okay, so these are my topics. Should I start or not start? You've already wasted 11 days by thinking about it. And please, many of you have not read that first mail properly in detail and all the PDF files which we had sent with it. And use your common sense to, many of the questions, frankly, I don't have the time to individually answer very, very small questions. If it is about law, I'm more than happy to answer. If it's about administrative side, I have no interest in it. And our team is very small, so we are not able to individually reply to it. But, use your common sense and your judgment, but do not stop doing work because, you're not getting a clarification. Okay, don't please blame it on me or my small team. Okay, that's looking for excuses. Okay, and yes, I feel watch those videos. There are at least 30 videos which we have on our YouTube channel. They are all relevant. They're there because for a purpose. I've done multiple talks in various colleges. Okay, a lot of questions have been asked. All of you individually may not be able to ask, but other students have asked many questions. We've replied to them. I think they're reasonably good. So use it as a study material rather than just viewing it for anything else. whatever you have in the master classes, and all of you have access to a professional course, please go through it in detail. Okay, don't just skip through it. It's easy. You can fool me. It's easy to fool me because I won't know you. You open the PDF file and you close it. It's a 300-page document. What is the point of a certificate if you haven't learned anything? Okay, these certificates will go into the dustbin if you don't really add any real knowledge to what you are doing today. So yes, a certification is more like yes, it's a recognition that you completed it formally. And we could make it very, very difficult also. We haven't made it, but we could make it. We can monitor. We know exactly, the IT team knows exactly who is spending how much time on a PDF file and on which video. So idea is just that use it to your learning, use it, do it at your pace. I know many of you are not getting other formal physical internships. So this is the best we are able to do. So let's make it fun also. And I'm not saying you work 10 hours a day on this, but 3 to 4 hours maximum is what we would expect. 2 hours is also sufficient, including your research, including your watching the videos, including Zoom sessions like these. And there are so many other activities going on which you should be able to, as students, join in. There are so many Zoom sessions going on, activities happening across the world. Join as many as you can. Okay, and the more people you interact with, more from different colleges, different fields, different countries, more you will all pick up, believe me. Okay. Yeah, Parth, is there anything specific which you want to add? Or anyone else has any other comment or question?
Yeah, so Manohar asks, looking at the rising globalization, do you believe that the international society requires an enforcement mechanism in public international law as well?
Yes. I think let's keep it simple. Obviously, yes. The answer is yes. But okay, okay. Any more quick questions related to law and not politics, really?
No.
We can keep debating what I feel. It doesn't matter what I feel. I'm just one small person in this big, wide world, right? What we need to focus on, yes, because it's very easy to get dragged on into interesting topics for discussion, but they are not related to law. Okay? So as a lawyer, I think we should start focusing on differentiating between news, information, and something which really pertains to our legal profession. If it is not directly, and yes, I'm not saying that in politics there is no law. So much of law is involved in politics. In fact, every good politician, if you look at around what are politicians actually required to do, they're required to make laws. Okay, it is not mandatory, but it should be, I think, in my opinion, it should be mandatory that every politician should have a law degree in every country, because they're making laws. But I don't want to get into those topics and controversies, but law is the basis, is one of the biggest pillars of society and of any business. Okay, there's finance, there is law, there is HR kind of management and IT and processes, but law is definitely, and let us focus again on law, and both on corporate side, business side, there are human rights side. If you want to focus on big, huge areas, violation of human rights, if you look at how people are taking asylums in different countries, huge area of law. And again, I am more of a commercial lawyer, or a lawyer who is practicing. So I will look at it that it is your profession. Okay, it's not, yes, we can do a lot of free work and pro bono, but I am helping you, trying to master the art so that you have a good, you're a professional, you need to get paid, your clients need to benefit, law firms you work with need to benefit. So just kind of, I think it's important to focus on that area. Are we adding some value to our clients? They could be individuals, there could be a matrimony issue, there could be a legal individual personal law issue with any individual, or it could be a corporate issue, it could be civil, criminal, corporate, cross-border, doesn't matter. We are in the business of solving problems. That is what a lawyer is doing. We are solving problems. So look at the bigger picture also. And yes, if there is already a problem in court, then our job is to win the battle and the war for our client. In fact, today was a lucky day just to, you had a very, very difficult matter in court today. And I was lucky because luck also plays a little bit of a role. Honorable judges are also individuals, whether they're arbitrators. They also have their good days and bad days, and they're in good moods and bad moods. So I think understanding people is critical. And sometimes using humor to your advantage is critical. So those are the things I think which you need to focus on. Besides, obviously, your law colleges are giving you good insights into the law part of it, right? They're teaching you the acts and everything else. But I think the human side of it is so critical. How to negotiate on behalf of a client, or sometimes with a client only. Okay, you're part of their team. How to negotiate a contract. How to make sure that win-win situation is happening and people are not breaking away from each other. Joint ventures are collapsing all the time. And our jobs are to get both parties together, put it in writing, make sure the business is carried on. And the human side of it also. Cross-examination, criminal law. Criminal lawyers are really good at body language, in understanding how people react to situations. Are they speaking the truth or not? So if your soft skills are good, you will do really, really well. So let us just kind of focus on those, both hard skills as well as the soft skills required to succeed as a lawyer. Okay. And it's not just, again, your grades which will determine your future. Let me tell you this much. And if you're from the best college, yes, it will open you more doors for you. But I think the cost and fees are also crazy. I know how cost the international legal education costs are. And I sometimes don't think it is worth the price. Okay, you can spend $250,000 or $500,000 in your legal education. Finally, whether you take a student loan or in Asia, parents are footing the bill for it. Is it worth it? Have you really learned something? Will you come back and earn that much money? Those are questions which you need to ask yourself. And education is also, there's a lot of self-learning which is happening today. And companies also, and in law firms and individuals and clients also, are just not just looking at your fancy degrees. It is important to have those degrees, but they might not just be sufficient enough. If you can really prove that you are adding value. In fact, I'm going on a talk on someone else's program. It is on mentorship, which is talking about what are the opportunities as a lawyer which you have. You have a law degree does not mean that you can only be practicing. You are only a practicing lawyer. You can set up a new business. You can do phenomenally well in so many other new opportunities. You can get into finance. Finance and law is a deadly combination. Okay, you can do your CPA, your accountancy or finance, company secretaryship, as we could say. In different countries have different. So finance and law is a very good combination. Tech and law is very good. Okay, so HR and law is very good. Every HR manager has to have a law degree, or even if they don't have a law degree, they need to understand contract, the employment laws so well. So if you look at specialization in a law firm, you have employment lawyers, you have, the specialization skills. And so the opportunities are really wide. So focus on those rather than, on things which are for general discussions. And please don't ask about my opinion, because it frankly doesn't matter. I'm not standing for anything. So my opinions don't really matter. Let's look at what we have and how best. And even sometimes there is this pointless to keep wishing for laws to change. Or yes, you can, but what we have to make use is what we have. This is the law today. What best can we make use of it under the given circumstances? And how best can we work under the difficult laws which we are currently dealing with, understanding them, interpreting them, and looking at them in conjunction to other international laws which may be prevalent also. And I think that is the cutting edge required today. Because most traditional lawyers in their own home countries understand their local laws. But the moment it comes to international laws or overlapping new areas, that is where I think all new young lawyers have a huge opportunities in the areas which we discussed just now. Okay, so I think I have, it's already been, I think, nearly close to 2 hours now. So anything specific? Otherwise, we will, I think, call it a day. Anybody else has any specific comment or question?
I have this question because right now we're going through this academic phase, right? So, like after the degree, usually young law students, because they have to start their careers, so they do face problems regarding it. Because what are the skills which are necessary? And I would want to pursue corporate law, so I'm just thinking, what should I keep in mind, like before entering into the market?
Okay, Misbah, excellent question. And I think this is for nearly all students, okay? Whether you're from Nigeria or Nepal or India or any other country, makes no difference. The problem, I think, which most students, I don't say the problem, but I think the mistake which you could be doing is waiting for your law colleges to get over and then say, now I will, I've had a great student life. Now let me, open up to that there is a career and I need to do something about it. I think you need to wake up right from the first year of your law college and really start focusing and interacting with the professional legal world outside. Okay. Whether it is in your city, everybody would have a maybe family, friend, somebody maybe your parents are working in an organization. Start getting connected to the commercial world, okay? Because otherwise it's too late. No organization, no law firm, no consulting firm, no large organization will start training you for 2 years to make you employable. They don't have the time, energy, or money to do that. They're not interested in it. Okay, and whatever you're learning in your classrooms, so take part, participate in, like you have the international moot courts or domestic moot courts. You have your internships where you physically, in fact, to all the law students, once this COVID period is over, I will strongly suggest to go and visit the law courts in your respective cities. Spend time there. Spend at least 10 to 15 days every year, at least, just observing what's going on. Go there for half a day. Different countries have different rules, but most countries allow citizens to, these are open courts, okay? So yes, you may have to be dressed correctly and you may require a pass for security reasons, but try to go and spend at least 20 days in a year in a law court. Just observe what's going on. You will learn so much. Connect to lawyers, talk to people who employ lawyers, talk to finance managers, directors finance, owners of companies, ask them about legal issues. Just start thinking about it and you will, because otherwise you are all, I'm sorry, but you will face a very rude reality of saying, oh, I didn't get the best job. I got a job, but they're not paying me enough. And they're not paying you enough because they don't see that you are able to add that much value to them. Okay, but the moment they see that you can add value, they will not care if you have no experience or you just have 1 year of experience. So adding value from a practical side, I think that is critical to it. And I think if you, especially many of you have wanted to do corporate law, so I think attention to detail, not working under pressure. I will give you a prime example. We just did this case. We got 2 days, okay? Because it was so urgent, we had to finish everything. It's like making a big legal research, 100,000 words report in 2 days, which normally we would have required 15 days. So we had 7 lawyers working like 24/7 to get it right. Okay. So the pressure is huge. And when you put yourself in your client's shoes, because the clients will lose very, very large amounts of money. If it was an injunction case, we had to stop the other party from doing something which would have harmed our client's business. So if we had not done that, the matter would be over and our client would have lost everything. So 2 days time, 7 lawyers working 24/7, making every sure that in a contract or in a document, the comma is correct, the full stop, because every word is important and it goes through. So then we don't care if you have 10 years of experience, or frankly, yes, you need to have a law degree, but do you really understand the business? Do you understand the importance of it? And it's like a surgeon going in for a heart surgery, right? You will take your best team only, because stupid people can make mistakes and mess it up. Okay, so only the most critical ones will be given the opportunity. Okay, if you are an anesthetist, you have to be the best. If you are going to be operating on a patient who might die if you make a mistake, so in law is very, very similar. So initially you will not have your own clients. You will be working with a law firm or a lawyer or in a corporate where somebody will guide you. So how will they get that confidence that you are serious about your work? Okay, and even if you see, we keep saying this, that in today's day and age, we are not looking at knowledge. Knowledge and skills can be learned. Okay, actually, we are just looking for the right attitude and willingness to work hard and in a team and not keep giving excuses all the time. Okay, and if you have all those attributes, you're hardworking, you're sincere, you're honest, nobody can stop you. But start getting connected to the real business world. Read articles, read journals, watch YouTube videos relevant to. There is so much of information. And as a student, I really feel if you're not putting in 10 or 12 hours hard work every day, you will have a very, very difficult time once you will graduate. Across countries, I can tell you. Talk to lawyers, talk to consulting firms. I'm not scaring you, but this is reality. So the best ones will really do very well. And if you're not hardworking, not sincere, not committed, okay, then your chances of employment are going to be a little bit on the lower side. You still have opportunities. You can still be employed. You can set up your own practices very soon if people get to know what you do. And your reputation you're building on LinkedIn or on social media right from now. Start building up your relationships, your professional relationships from now. There, I think the most important things which will count, even jobs, it is not just campus recruitment. Somebody will recommend that, yes, you're a good person and a hardworking person, and as you know that subject. And that is how clients come to us also. They don't come to us because we give ads. We're not allowed to give ads anyway in most countries, but they come to us because word of mouth, it spreads that this guy knows his job. He knows his, he's really good at it. How do you find a good doctor? Okay, there is no portal which globally says this is the best one and this is the worst one. So you build up your reputations gradually, but start from now, right? Okay, thank you so much. I think we've run out of time completely. We are nearly completing 2 hours. Parth, is there any other announcement required?
No. I think that's
okay, great. So thank you so much. Great. Feedback, emails, we would not be able to see. We are reading nearly all the information which comes, but sometimes if it's very simple administrative things, we are not connecting. I'm sorry. I wish we could have a more interactive session where everybody gets an opportunity to speak, but just that we are not able to do that. I do want to have more short sessions happening in smaller groups of professionals. And yes, the idea of this internship is that we can all stay connected longer even after this internship. And many students have wanted to connect with each other, but at this moment we are not going to give you any data, because again, for data privacy, we are not going to share people's students' email IDs and phone numbers. But yes, there are some WhatsApp groups, and eventually you will find all of you on LinkedIn or on other social media, Twitter and all. Connect. It'll be good. The idea is that all of you, the more you connect, we'll all learn from each other and we take it from there. So thank you so much for your time. And we only have few more days left of the internship. So work hard, complete the tasks. We are monitoring you, and people who are completing the task obviously will start, we have an internal system to figure out. And yes, I would like to be associated with with students who are more serious and more committed. Okay, I'm not saying we are not checking your IQ levels and we are not checking your grades, but we are just looking at your attitude and commitment levels, which reflects in the work we are requesting you to do. As long as you're doing, we will later on have longer internships, more projects which actively students can participate in. Paid internships is a sensitive topic, but paid internships only come in from once we are able to identify committed students. And if they can do it, eventually, yes. And that is how they are joining firms also. The inductions is also happening through this only. And we, that's the best way forward. So stay safe, enjoy yourself, work hard, and we will probably have another session on legal research reports sometime next week. Probably a shorter session because we haven't had one. You continue to make your reports the way you want to make it, but we will have a more specific session on how to formally make good research reports, legal research reports. We will be informing you about the YouTube by next week sometime, and we'll have probably 2 more sessions before we will finish off this internship program. Okay, so thank you so much and all the best to all of you. Take care.